I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my been ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get.
Hey guys, we're for Feral but Sober Claws Out part 15. Thank you all for being here. I actually had a big mix up this week. I got ahead of myself, start working with the wrong guest, and forgot to reach out to the correct people. And so we're going to reschedule those. So the guests that we have this week are actually filling in, helping out. Always got the good people on my side to step up when I need, when I have the openings for whatever reason. This week actually was my fault. I'll take the blame. But luckily I have some good people that are willing to step in and help me out now that I have messed my guests up. So, put my headphones. All right. I hope everyone can hear me. Everybody in the Facebook world and YouTube. Let me make sure the chat's connected. I sent the link to the guest, so he should be getting back with me, or should be joining the live in just a few minutes. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Yes. Okay, perfect. So Joseph is actually, I've met him recently through my TikTok. Facebook, anyone watching on another platform may not know, but I have been focusing a lot of my time actually on the Facebook universe, I guess. And I met a lot of good people. We're quickly growing into a wonderful community there, and I love it so much. So Joseph is a regular. He's in almost every single one of the lives. I'm going live 4 times a day, and he's a truck driver. So he just kind of tunes in and puts on his headset so he can hear us. And he just kind of drives, and we kind of, talk while he's driving. And he has a lot of good stuff, a very good story. I'm really excited to help him share his story and also to learn more about him. Right. So give me just a few minutes. Let him get joined in. I sent him the link. Oh, you know what? I think I told him I was going to text him the link. One second. Give me a second, guys. I'm so sorry. I sent him a text and said that I emailed him the link. I think I told him earlier that I would text it to him. I've been having some trouble getting my phone. There we go. There he is.
All right. Hello.
Hi. Sorry. I was sitting here waiting, and then I was like, oh, crap. I remember that I told you I would text it to you, and I was like, well, shit. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I'm trying to see if my Bluetooth will work on this, but I don't know if it will or not. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let me get back live.
I'll turn my Bluetooth off because it's not working on my Bluetooth.
1 second. I was just on TikTok.
I'm almost to this truck stop, so just bear with me a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
I figured I'd have to start my story, while finishing up my day. But I mean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So the best way that I've found that seems to work the best for everybody, or for most people, is that if you just kind of start talking and I kind of take notes, and Bri, find me a pen, sissy. And then I'll throw questions in, and we'll just kind of, talk, walk through your
Okay.
story.
Okay. All right. Are we live everywhere? You ready?
I'm ready. We are ready.
All right. So for me, it all started with my childhood. Like I've said before, I remember my oldest memory, 3 years old,
Mm.
rolling a marijuana cigarette for my mom and my dad because they're too messed up to do it. Um, my mom, but she could only love one, and that was the baby. And
Oh, you're cutting
now
out.
none of us want
There you go.
anything.
You're good
Now
now.
none of us want anything to do with her because she's such a narcissist that it's unreal. So we're gonna fast forward a few years. I remember cooking dinners for myself. Um, at 8 years old, my older brother began essaying me. My first actual true form of feeling betrayal. Um, Told my mother about it. She did nothing. Um, then that stopped when I put a knife to his throat and told him if he ever touched me again, I'd kill him or unalive him. However, I'm allowed to say it. I'm sorry. Then I moved with my dad. My dad knew nothing about what was going on, but then again, he's still a practicing drunk. He knows now, but he didn't back then. And I began to have a lot of issues mentally and physically, like why can't what's wrong with me, and I turned to huffing as a relief. Now I don't know if you know what huffing is, but I'd sniff paint or gasoline until I got high. Um, that was my first contact with any kind of substance at all. Um, my dad, like I said, he's still practicing, but he was an abusive alcoholic, both mentally and physically. I had to get a job to stay with him. Um, I I remember working a farm, making $35 a week, giving him $25 a week to go and live with the hunting dogs that he had in the backyard. And because he lost a bar fight, he decided, I'm going to go home and I'm going to beat the living out of my son. And this is the same man I've seen pull a gun on my mama and told her, if you leave, I'm going to blow your brains out. Thankfully, my mama got away from all that and all that like that. Um, so after a few years of that kind of treatment and realizing, I need to make pain my friend really, really fast. I developed a tough skin, and I actually enjoyed the pain after about 4 or 5 months of it. I would laugh and smile at him because if I cried, it got worse. Um, and then I got to a point where I had had enough. So I had a friend fill out some paperwork for me, and I got myself emancipated. I got myself emancipated at 14 years old. Um, I moved out of his house. I made sure he got no paperwork or anything like that saying he had to go to court. I was slick with it. I took everything and I burned it before he even got it. So he never even knew that was coming. Um, and then, like I said, I got myself emancipated because the judge granted me what I wanted because he wasn't there. And couple weeks later, I moved out. Uh, I was just starting high school. I had to have, I'd been working all this time, but I was only working one job. So I ended up getting three jobs. I had three jobs, going to school, playing high school football, and working out, and all that like that. Uh, so there was very little time to sleep, and I had to find something to help me sleep because otherwise I was gonna go like bonkers. That's when I turned to alcohol, and that's when I found, hey, I could sleep if I do enough of this. So I started drinking, and I thought that was more important than my bills, and come to find out, yeah, no, it wasn't. You know, um, I ended up homeless for the first time. Um, okay, turn's coming up. There it is. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to get to this truck stop.
You're fine, Joseph, and thank you for being so vulnerable and opening up. And I said before you got here, I said I'm excited to hear. I love to hear everybody or to help everybody share their story. But I am really excited. I always love to get to know people of our community better, and
Yeah,
so I'm really
yeah,
I'm using this as an insight to Joseph. So I'm really enjoying it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, but you know, when I was homeless, that's when I was introduced to my drug of choice, cocaine. Oh God, did I love that. Um, Now, surprisingly, at first, I thought I could control it, and I was able to get back on my feet, find me a decent job. By this point, I had already got my GED. I had graduated with my GED because I had blown my rotator cuffs playing high school football freshman year. I blew both of them out in one play. And funny story. It's a sidebar, but it's fine. And I don't mind. I love it. I'm face down in the ground. I got the football in between my two shoulders, and my arms are just laying there. And the people on the field, they want to roll me over. And my coach is there, and he's like, "Dude, can you move your legs?" So I moved my legs, and he was like, "Okay, fine. So it's just your arms." I'm like, "Yeah, just my arms." He's like, "Okay." So the paramedics are there, and they're getting ready to turn me over. One of them touches my arm, and I tell them, first person to turn me over getting kicked. They So you know what they did? They strapped me to the board face down. Literally, they strapped me to the board face down. They get me to the hospital. They do all the X-rays. They do an MRI. They do all that and everything else like that. And they um they discover that I've blown both my rotator cuffs and my shoulders are severely dislocated. So they do what they can to fix me up while they wait on the insurance and all that. But while they're doing the X-rays and all that, they flip me over. Doctor walks in the room and the doctor gets a face full of clean. I kicked him. He didn't come back in that room, by the way. But by the time I was 15, that I got introduced to my drug of choice, and um, there we are. I um, I loved it. I am not gonna lie to no one. I truly I thought I was God on that stuff. And I I got to a point where I had gotten back on my feet. I had saved up enough money. I um I bought me a little camper. Little it was 18-foot living space, but you basically 21, 22 feet, you know, of the whole camper. But it was mine. It had my name on it, and that's what mattered. Um, okay, hold on. This is wow. I know what I'm gonna have to do, and they're just gonna have to like it. So, uh, I got back on my feet. I got back in touch with my dad. Should have left him alone then, but I did. Um, and the only reason I was able to get back on my feet is because I ended up in. It was like a juvenile detention, but it was more of a halfway house, if you will. It was for troubled teens, and I spent some time in there, and I learned a few things there, and so when I was able to get back on my feet, I moved back by my dad in my camper. I started um, get, getting involved in that toxic relationship again, and um, he was the one that actually introduced me to shooting up the cocaine, doing it IV wise. And oh my, ooh, that's when my world really changed. That's when it started to get out of control. Um, and I didn't even realize it. I was headed for a downfall of major capacities, but it's okay because it gets even better. For my 17th birthday, my dad decided he was going to take me to New Orleans, Louisiana. He got me drunk. He left me there, and he stole $3,000 cash from me. All that was in my camper, by the way. Um, so yeah, I was homeless again, but this time it wasn't my fault. It was, but it wasn't. I was foolish enough to get involved with him again, and you know, and so that part, yes, it's my fault, but I didn't know his plans. If I would, I'd never went. But then again, my story wouldn't have turned out the way it did. So, um, after after that, I want to say it was 2 months. I ran across a complete stranger, and he looked at me, and he saw how muscular I was. He saw how big I was, and he's like, "Dude." Now keep in mind, because I'm forgetting something here, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. With all that beating that I had to go through, I had become the animal my dad had raised. If that makes any sense. I literally had no emotion. I lived off instinct. So if I was in a bar and somebody looked at me crazy, I was either knocking them out or breaking something. Literally. Um, I was full blown animal. And this guy, one night after he saw that and I walked out of the bar, he was like, "Dude, you look like you know how to handle yourself, and I might know of a way for you to make some good money." And that's when I started training and I got introduced to MMA. Boy, was I good at it. Oh my God. I was so good at it. And I thought to myself, okay, this is how I release all that anger and all that hatred and everything else that I had for my mom, my dad, my older brother, and everything else like that. And yes, it did help, but to an extent, because I wasn't dealing with the actual root cause of the emotion, if you will. I wasn't actually dealing with it. I was just letting out what I thought needed to come out, but that wasn't the problem. Uh, made really good money, stayed in hotels, the only time I would be clean is if I needed to pass a test. I'd get sober and clean just enough time to pass the test and go on to my next match. I mean, I was so good. My record was 40 wins, 4 losses, 38 knockouts. And in 6 months, I had the belt and I held it for a year and a half. Um, I I ended people's careers doing this stuff for extra money. I mean, I'd have people come to me and, dude, we'll give you an extra 10, 15, 20 grand. Snap his knee and make sure he can never come back in the octagon again. Okay, that didn't bother me. You know, all because um I needed the money, or I thought I needed the money, because I wanted that next fix. And I went and got one right after the match was over, believe me. And of course, in the hotel room, there was women, there was booze, there was drugs. The only two I didn't mess with was crack and heroin. I left those alone. I refused. Um, but I mean, there for a little while, that's all I did. Was just my drug of choice, and I'd buy everything, what everybody else wanted, and let them have fun. And I'd try a little bit here or there just to kind of see if I liked it or not. Um, but um, my life at that point was just a blur. All I remember is really just staying high as much as I could. Um, a lot of the fights that I got into, you know, um, there's some of them I remember and some of them I don't. But I do remember I was good at what I did. I really was, and it it hurt me when I had to leave because of how good I was at it. But I'm stepping ahead of myself here. So I did that for 2 years. I'm getting ready to turn 19. Now, keep in mind, what I drank, I was alcohol. I didn't drink water. I didn't drink pop. It was all I did was straight party.
You
Um,
up, Joseph. The last thing I heard you said I was
I,
19, and then you cut out, and then you came back and you said all I drank was
okay,
alcohol. Yeah.
okay. I'll back up a little bit then. My birthday is March 19th. Now, from the 12th to the 19th of March, when getting ready to turn 19, that's all I did was party. I didn't eat. I didn't properly hydrate. I didn't, yeah, all the good stuff I needed to do. I didn't do none of that. I was doing everything from acid to LSD along with alcohol. And I did that for 7 days straight. And I had the money to do it because I had saved it up. Um, and that week there, I really don't remember. The only part I do remember is on my birthday, I walked out of a bar and I said, 19 doesn't feel any different. And I fall over. They say I hit my face on the concrete when I fell. But I passed out. I woke up March 20th. I was strapped to a bed. I had an IV in my left arm, an IV in my right arm. My right arm was kind of cocked up a little bit. My left arm was stretched out. I was turned on my side at the hips. They had a pillow back there holding me up. And I tried to move my legs, but I couldn't. And when I looked, I saw the IVs coming from behind my knees. I'm like, what the hell? You know, so, and I'm just waking up. I don't know what's going on at this point. A nurse walks in. She looks at me, and I never could reach out back to the lady to apologize to her because I never could find her. But if I ever do, I will apologize for what I said to her when she walked in that room. She was a pretty young lady. And, you know, I told her, I said, hey, you got a big old butt. Bring it over here. Let me show you what to do with it. And she just looked at me, rolled her eyes, and walked out. You know, and as she's walking out, she says, I'll be back with the doctor. I said, okay. So I don't know how much time goes by. I'm not paying attention to the clock. Um, but her and the doctor come back in, and the doctor sits down, and the doctor looks like serious, you know, like he's even mad. I've never had a doctor cuss at me up until this point. And the doctor looked at me and he said, son, do you believe in God? Now, with everything I had been through previously, I knew I had a feeling that there was a God. I didn't know, you know. So I told him, I said, Doc, right now I don't know what I should believe. And the doc told me, he said, son, you better believe in something. Because somebody somewhere saved your dumb ass. I said, what do you mean? He said, I have the paperwork here. He said, but in short, you had enough dope in your system to kill two of you. I said, wow. He said, somebody somewhere is looking out for you. And you better change your life and you better do it now. I said, okay. I sat there, just a bunch of stuff was going through my head, and I didn't know where to begin. Doc looks at me and he says, boy, you need rehab. I said, no, Doc, I think I just had it. I walk out the hospital about 2:30 in the afternoon. I got my discharge papers in one hand and I got a pamphlet in the other showing me where meetings are. And I walk to the edge of the street and I just hear something. Hey, man, you want to hit? And it was a dude on the corner smoking a blunt. I said, no, I can't do that no more. I said, no, I can't do that no more. I looked at the meeting. I said, as a matter of fact, you can tell me where this address is at? He said, dude, that's 2 blocks away. Go that way and you'll run right into it. I said, okay. I walked into a meeting. And I'm sitting there, and yes, I'm still trying to get sober. I was up for maybe 3 hours, so I only had 3 hours of sobriety. And the first person that greets me looks at me and says, you look rough and you look like you still high. I said, actually, I've only got about 3 hours sobriety. I just come from the hospital. He said, well, they got another meeting later on this afternoon. You don't belong here. This is for the old timers. Whatever, dude. And I walked out. I found somebody that told me where the next one was at, and they actually gave me a ride because they saw the sincerity in my face. And I end up at this meeting, and everything is going okay. Um, I find me a little apartment. I find me a little job. You know, I'm sleeping a lot, but I'm up enough to be able to go and do my job. And then again at this second meeting, you know, not one but two people. Dude, you look high. You need to get out of here. You don't belong here. That was the third time I had been accused of being high. I said, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get high. And I did. And I walked back into the meeting, high as a kite. And I looked at him and I said, now this is what high looks like. I'm fucked up. I really am. And I sat there the whole meeting. And I remember one guy said something, and he said, I don't remember his exact words. All I remember was, you need to get out. And I told him, make me. And he got up in my face, and I laid him out, and I got on top of him. I was beating the living mess out of him. Little woman, I don't know how much time she had sober, but she was 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. She comes, she grabbed my face by the cheeks, picked my face up, and made me look at her. And she said, please stop. Tears in her eyes. I got up and I walked out. Now, that was early April, mid-April, somewhere around there. Fast forward to, June. And, yes, that's Miss Leanna, or Aunt Leanna, like you call her. Auntie. Yes. Fast forward to June, I'm
Real quick, Joseph.
I'm just getting off this little.
I want to real quick because someone is on Facebook. Doesn't tell me if you're watching on my Facebook profile who you are when you comment. Just says Facebook user, but someone said hello, so someone's watching us. Maybe James. Sometimes he watches on Facebook, but I just wanted to say someone is watching. And we got a lot of Coda is on the TikTok over here. We got Mary, Juliana's in here, Beck. A lot of people here to watch you.
Yeah, well, this is the first time my kids actually hear the full story, so
And I was sleeping, so I don't count.
So this is grateful, and they get to understand why I process the way I do. So this will be helpful for them. So like I said, that was April, early April, mid-April. And I've always been that type. I'm sorry. I'm stubborn that way, and if you're going to accuse me of doing it, I might as well go out and get it done, cuz I'm going to do it right. So I'm going to fast forward from April to June, and I'll never forget it. June 24th, 3 a.m. I'm just walking out of a bar, getting me another fix for first thing in the morning when I wake up before I go to my job. And I'm sitting there on a bench waiting on a city bus. Old guy walks up, he sits next to me. He said, hey, Joseph. I look at him. And he's on my right side. So I don't know this old man. I'd never seen him a day before in my life. I'm like, how you know my name? Because I don't know you. He says, all I'm going to ask you, he said, I'm going to make a statement and I'm going to ask you a question. And he said, I want you to think about it. He said, I saved you. And this is how you repay me? And he got up, he walked off. I sat there for about 30 seconds, just sitting there thinking, what the fuck? What does he mean he saved me? And I get up and I move to the edge of the road. I literally stand in the gutter and I'm looking everywhere. And this old man is nowhere to be seen. Nowhere. Like, poof, I'm gone. Like he was David Copperfield. And that's when it hit me. I don't need to worry about what everybody else is thinking. I just need to go out there and do what's right by him. because he saved me. And if all I can do to repay him is stay sober one day at a time, that's what I'm going to do.
Beautiful, Sir Joseph. I love it. And thank you so much for being so vulnerable and so open and telling the things that, you know, that some of it, you know, didn't paint us in the best light. You know, some of us don't do the best things in our addiction. Let's be honest. So, you know, that's the stuff that
I
resonates.
didn't I didn't do anything right in my addiction. I didn't know how to do right. Like I said, I was an animal at one point. You know, if I walked out of a bar and I needed to urinate, I was going to do it right there on the street and didn't give a damn. You know, that's just how I was.
I wrote that sentence
I
down
mean,
when
when
you
I
said that. You said, I became the dog that or the animal that my dad raised. And that, you know, to me,
yes,
that was so raw. Like, you know, because I mean, that's, you know, to say it in those words, like, man, that's just so, because essentially that's what, if you're just being beat on and not fed and not taken care of, malnourished and mistreated and all of the
oh,
things, you're,
look, I had to eat dog food with the dogs if I wanted nutrition. Okay? When I say he raised me like a literal animal, I literally mean it. I lived in the cage with the dogs, slept in rain, slept in dog pee, dog poo. Yeah, and I'm being polite when I say that, you know, but I mean, I had dogs all the way around me. You know, I smelled dog farts all night long. I was literally an animal to my dad.
that's so sad. I don't understand how people could treat their kid that way. Like I'm sorry. We're not gonna go there. So we're not even gonna go there. So your dad is still in the mess and he's sick, and we're gonna, you know, we're gonna leave
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah,
But he is
and he's still alive.
yeah, and he is still alive. He has recently reached out though and gave you a blessing, and maybe he's, you know,
He
let's just
did.
hope that
He
the
did.
mustard seed, yeah, the mustard seed maybe could be planted for him. I don't know. A lot of time I don't know, but I don't want to say anything bad about
He's
him.
my godmother, and his contraction of Hep C was my godmother's death, and his contraction of Hep C. Well, not contraction, but he found out he had it. I was about 15 years old. So he's been living with hepatitis C, and he's almost he turned 70 on January 5th. That's how close his birthday is.
Wow, really close,
He's
huh?
done shared with yeah, he's done shared with me that he knows he's dying. You know, so he's resigned to it. I'm gonna go to bed one night and I'm not gonna wake up. And that's the way he puts it.
And
And he's gonna live his life the way he wants.
has he ever tried to make any kind of amends with you at all, or like, I mean, at some point we got to realize that we're a piece of shit, right? Like, or no?
The closest he's ever come to that was recently. He admitted, he said, you know, I should have stuck talking to you in French. I should have I should have kept that, and I should have taught the rest of the kids, you know, Cajun French. And that was the closest he has ever come to apologizing for anything he's ever done. If you and I can give you my ex-wife's number. If you ask my dad if he threw me out of the house or if he left me homeless, he'll tell you yes. But he'll spin it around and tell you that's because I didn't want to have a job. I didn't want to keep a job.
At 15
So
fucking
he's going
years
to
old?
spin it to make himself look good. Yeah, it's 17 years old.
Ah, okay. But so we've already talked for about 7 minutes, or not, we got about 7 minutes left until an hour. But I want to real quick a couple of things. First off, I want to share a quick fact with you. Do you know that if you like, the statistic is for jail. I'm just going to throw that out there, but I think the hospital will fit in perfectly. If you seek out a meeting, whatever kind of, and it doesn't matter, NACR, whatever, any kind of meeting, the day you're released from jail, you have an 80% less likely chance to go back to jail for the same thing. Did you know that? So I thought that was really cool when you
No, I
shared it.
didn't.
Yeah. So I thought when you left the hospital and you went straight to a meeting, like that could have been, even though it didn't work out that time, right in that moment, like literally that could have been what planted the fucking seed. How cool is that to think about? Like to go back. Yeah. That's a real recidivism
Yeah,
back.
it really was. It really was, because I did end up going back to meetings, and I sat in meetings for 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second thing that I want to talk about is that you told your story and you told all the bad parts of it, right? But let's talk a little bit about the good stuff. You've got 4 amazing kids. 2 of them I know are watching right now. So how did they happen? Because you didn't mention the ex-wife or the kids or none of that. And I know that
Okay.
you got clean way before all that, but I just still.
Yeah, I did. I got married for the first time to my first wife. I was 24 years old. Um, Come to find out, I went to high school with her. We were in some of the same classes and stuff like that. And you know, I wasn't in meetings at the time, and I thought, my life was under control. But clearly I was missing something, because I wasn't going to meetings, but yet I was kind of like you. I wasn't working on myself. I wasn't working a program, but I wasn't working on myself. But we did love each other, her and I. Her name was Tijon. Um, that's Donna and Dakota's mama. And Dakota's actual real name, because she was adopted, I'll get to that in a minute. Her real name is Winnie Mae.
Winnie Mae. I
That's her
like
birth
it.
name.
That's cute. That's such a
Hmm.
cute name. I love little country bumpkin. My daughter's name is Maya Mary June. Like, I love the country. Like, how
My,
country is that?
my, oh, it is, and I love it. Okay, Donna was named after my godmother. That was the only woman in my life, and she was a type 1 diabetic, who actually treated me like a son. My mom didn't, my dad didn't, so I had to look somewhere, and it was her, So I'm 12, and I promised my godmother, we call him Nanny in Louisiana. I promised my nanny, I said, Nanny, I'm gonna name my firstborn daughter after you. She tells me, she says, don't make that promise. You can't keep that. Well, at 25, when Donna was born, 6 weeks early, um, I named her Donna Faye. My godmother, my nanny's name was Donna Faye Boudreau. Donna's name is Donna Faye Roger. The only name she doesn't, the only thing that's not the same is the last name. And
Is that your
then
last name?
Roger, yes. It's spelled Roger, but
I was just going to say, I've been plain ass Joseph Roger. Hell no. You got to teach me how to say that because I can't say it, but that's so cool.
Roger.
Roger.
Yep, there you go. Perfect.
Love it.
And Donna was born 6 weeks early, 2004. I'm sitting there and I'm holding her in my arms, and I was holding my breath. Same with Dakota, but Dakota was born literally 13 months later. But I'm sitting there and I'm holding them, and I'm thinking to myself, God, you gave me my life back, and now you're giving me these little lives to take care of. How are we going to do this? And I felt such a peace rush over me when I turned to him and asked him that. And then, because their mom had a history with the state of Louisiana, they were both taken from me at birth. I ended up getting Dakota back from the state. I was able to. But the lady that raised her, she's a good woman. She really is. She did what she thought was best for Dakota, and I'll always admit that. Um, she fought me for custody, and my dad betrayed me for the second time and stood behind her, and that's how come I wasn't able to raise Dakota. I did end up signing my rights away for the both of them, but it was only because I knew I still wasn't completely where I needed to be for them, you know, and I don't hold any ill will or any grudges or anything like that. I love the fact that they're loving, caring, beautiful daughters and all that like that. It's something I don't think I could have done if I would have been able to get them back, you know. So I'll say that much. So couple years, a couple months after Dakota's born, I catch my first ex kissing another man in my living room. I didn't hit her. I didn't do anything ugly, didn't say anything ugly, but I did break his jaw.
I knew that was coming.
Oh yeah. And then I went in the room, and after I threw him out the apartment, I went in the room and I started packing her stuff, and I told her, I said, "You can follow your stuff. I ain't got nothing else for you." Um, that was in February of '06, right after I got
Rhoda
no.
says she's so
That
proud
was
of you
in
and she
that was
loves
in
you.
who?
Coda. She said,
Thank
"Can you
you, baby.
please tell my dad?"
Thank you, baby. I love you too. In March, I had just got uh Dakota back. I had her for about 3 weeks, and God, that was the best 3 weeks of my life. That was the best 3 weeks of my life. I'll never forget them. I put my Xbox down and I took care of her for 3 weeks. Uh, but I just got Dakota back from the state, and that's when I caught that happening with their mom. And like I said, I just out of respect the fact that she was my baby mama, look, I don't need you here if you're gonna be like this. I was not gonna do what my dad did to my mama, and I I didn't physically throw her out, but I threw her out. Um, and uh, 2 weeks later, I meet 3 weeks later, right when I'm beginning to go through the battle and all that for Dakota and all that, I meet my second ex-wife, and she helped me while I was going through the battle with Dakota. Because honestly, I think if I wouldn't have had my second ex-wife there, I think I would have went back to using after that. Um, but she helped me out. She stayed by my side. Um, and um, matter of fact, Dakota has a birthday coming up, January 3rd. She turns 20,
Yay.
and I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her.
Okay.
1 second, baby. Um, but I meet the second ex-wife, and um, her and I start talking, and come to find out, I knew her when I was younger, and she was younger as well, and we just started talking and dating, and
Is it okay for me to be crying over this?
yes, but honey, it's okay for you to cry.
Oh,
I don't
And
This
and
is the first time I've actually heard you talk about happy stuff.
I
she's okay.
know, baby, I know. Just let me finish, please. I need to concentrate. Um, I meet my second ex-wife. We start dating. We start talking. Now her and I were together 7 years because before we even got married, we were together 7 years before we even got married. And that was because when I went to go find my first ex-wife to further divorce, I found out she skipped state, didn't know where she was. Her family wouldn't tell me. But, her and I made do with what we had, and my two youngest kids, Mary and Wade, they were born both in May. My daughter Mary was born on her mama's birthday, May 31st. Wade was born May 22nd.
My
Mary
husband
was
and his mother.
2007.
Sorry, my husband and his mother share a birthday. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a funny story too. Okay, my second ex-wife is a redhead. So I'm gonna get to that in a second. Mary was born in 2007. Wade was born in 2009. Um, and she ended up hemorrhaging with Wade, but you know, we'll get to that in a little bit. This one I knew I was in trouble. Okay. Her and I had been together a little over a year by the time Mary was born. Um, and we're in the hospital on her birthday. And of course, who wants to be in the hospital on their birthday? And the only reason they admitted her and induced her the way that they did was because her blood pressure was really high. My ex-wife's blood pressure. So they didn't want to risk what's that called? Sepsis or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. But they didn't want to risk it, so they induced her, and she was like 38 and a half weeks pregnant. So it was a good time. Uh, Mary was born, and then I looked at her after Mary was born. I looked at her and I said, well, two things. Now, keep in mind, love language in Louisiana is I'm picking on you, okay? We gonna talk mess. We gonna talk shit. So I look at my ex-wife. I say, I can promise you two things right here, right now. She said, what's that? I said, one, I'll never be able to forget your birthday. She says, right, because if you do, then you got double trouble. I said, true. Now, I should have stopped there, but I didn't. She said, so what's number two? I said, well, don't never expect no birthday present from me, no. She said, why not? I said, baby, God just gave you the greatest gift on the face of this earth, a child to share your birthday with. I'm not God. I can't top that. Without skipping a beat or a breath, she says, no, but you could die trying, motherfucker. I said, oh, I'm in trouble. She said, uh-huh. Oh, no.
Oh, I love that.
Yep. Yep. And it was wonderful. I always told my second ex-wife, you're too good for me. She's never had a problem with any of this. She's never been an alcoholic. She's never been an addict. As far as I knew, she had never even really been around it.
Hey, but you are worthy. You deserve that.
And she taught me that, and I thank her for that. I'm still best friends with her. We talk when we can and catch up and all that like that. But because we spent 16, 17 years together.
Nick agreed with you. He said, well, you gave her the kid.
I gave her two.
Two. Yeah, but one on her birthday.
Yeah. So she was the one that taught me I was worthy. Even though she was in the Army and didn't understand how that functions, because she came from the right side of the tracks. She grew up with the loving, caring, we gonna back you up, support you, the whole nine type family. Her family's close knit. I don't speak to none of my siblings except for one, and that's my baby sister. Uh, I don't really speak to any of my family. I did for Christmas, but I mean, it's Christmas. I gotta be nice. I gotta play nice.
Yes, and both of your parents, though, I love that even though you guys don't have the best relationship, and that obviously they have done you things like put you through things that you like are under no obligation to ever forgive, but that you still, you still reach out, or they reach out actually, but you accepted, you
I
accepted and talked to them on Christmas, and that's huge.
I did, and I tell people that struggle with forgiveness. I say, look, I know how hard it is. I really do. I do. For the longest time, I get so mad talking about this whole situation because I couldn't stand what they did to me. But I realized forgiveness is not for them.
That's right.
It's for me. It's for my heart and for my sanity. And once I truly forgave them, I was able to move past all of it. Just a few years back, I was talking with my older brother, him and I told him, I said, dude, I said, I don't ever expect an apology from you. I don't. I said, but I want you to know I forgive you for what you did to me. His way of apologizing was sitting there and telling me that he was a victim of that too, by one of our cousins.
Which is not an excuse, but maybe did give you some
No,
insight, like
it did, because stats say if you're a victim of that,
yeah,
you're going to repeat that behavior 93% of the time.
damn, that's a big number.
If I remember right. Oh yeah, it's a big number. I was told by a psychologist by the time I was 30, I'd either be dead or in jail for the rest of my life. I'm 46. I've never been to prison. And I've never done any of the stuff that was done to me. Because I use it as a guide of what not to do in life and to my kids.
Absolutely.
Was I rough on my kids? Yes. But I was rough on my stepkids too. I was rough on all the kids. But the way the world is changing and the way the world is going, I felt they needed some kind of structure. But all them kids know they can come to me anytime they please. Well, I don't care if they're asking for money because they know if I got it, they got it.
Well, I think being a strict parent or a firm parent is not the same as being a bad parent. I mean, that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. I mean, you can still be close with your kids and be strict on them. Like, they have to know that we are not their friends. We are their parents. Like, yeah, we can be their friends to an extent, to a certain degree, to a line, but then there comes a time where I'm like, I tell my daughter, my oldest is 12, and I tell her, she's getting ready to be 12, I'm sorry, in March, and I tell her all the time, like, I don't care if you're mad at me, be mad at me, you know the parent, I'm like, you can be mad at mom, it's fine, like, I do, I just tell her, I'm like, you can be mad at me,
be mad at me, I'll be the bad guy, but remember, when you're gonna need me, I'm here for you.
I tell her, I say, I love you enough to be the bad guy, that's fine, like, that's fine with me. But Joseph, I love you and thank you for being here to tell our story. They are actually waiting on us on TikTok. So there's like Nick accidentally opened the boxes, so people are patiently waiting. So we will I'll see you over there. And thank you so much for filling in. I really love to get to know you a little bit more and just to, hear a little bit more about your story.
Not a problem. Thank you all very much. Thank you for everyone who watched, and I love all of y'all as well. And my kids, I love y'all. Daddy's proud of you. And I'm sorry y'all had to hear all that rough stuff, but y'all know how I am. I'm not going to bite my tongue for nobody. I love y'all, and I'm proud of y'all. Y'all be good.
See you in a minute.
See you there, Leanne.
Run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah.